Hello everyone, I'm Jejun Oh. Today I'm going to talk about the youth unemployment problem in Korea. The Korean labor market experienced many changes during the financial crisis. It meets the needs of the public sector, corporate restructuring, and labor market flexibility. As the employment situation worsened, the unemployment problem emerged as a social priority after successfully overcoming the financial crisis in the early 2000s. The labor market began to show a stable trends as the unemployment rate declined. Despite the series of process, however, young people have difficulty finding jobs and are not getting jobs. The increase in the youth population remains a serious problem, and the government's youth unemployment rate is also serious. Despite the wide and comprehensive solution, there are no signs of an easy solution. In particular, the government's active response to promoting youth employment is urgently needed as the outlook for future employment for young people is getting darker due to the recent economic situation. People check the status of youth unemployment, which has recently been pointed out as an important problem in the Korean labor market, analyze the cause and seek policy measures to effectively solve the youth unemployment problem. Unemployment problem is one of the most urgent concepts in Korea, and youth unemployment is a very big problem due to its widespread social impact. Considering that one of the most important factors threatening social safety is the unemployment problem, we cannot help but pay great attention. Unfortunately, however, the unemployment problem is likely to become a bigger social problem in the future. The currently unemployment problem is essentially different from the one in the past. In the past, unemployment was mostly due to overseas factor or a temporary economic downturn. Therefore, in the past, it could have been solved relatively easily if the global economy had recovered or the government has used economic stimulus measure. However, the seriousness of the problem exists that the current unemployment problem does not come from this temporary economic downturn, but stems from the following three structural internal factors. It is slow economic growth, change in introducing method, and social factor. First, let's talk about slow economic growth. When Korea grows by 1%, about 60,000 new jobs are created. Therefore, if Korean average net labor increased, the number of new workers meets retired workers is about 300,000 to 350,000. Korea need at least about 5 to 6% of its economic growth. Therefore, previously government have expected at least 6% economic growth only every year. But what about future economic growth? This year's expected economic growth is in the 3% range. Recently, it is also expected to grow below that. In addition, economic growth of more than 5% will not be easy soon. This mention means that the number of jobs created by economic growth is insufficient compared to the number of job seekers. This is the first reason why the future unemployment problem is born to become more serious. The second reason is change in producing method. As industry development, the amount of labor that goes into producing the same goods gradually decrease. The rapid progress of technology development and automatic is further accelerating this phenomenon. It is also true that technological process create new jobs. However, countries that do not produce these automatic machine on their own import them and produce final production using the machine may not see the number of workplace increase as much as production growth in the mid to long term. In other words, even with 1% economic growth, the number of jobs may not increase by 6,000. On news, unemployment problem has had a big effect. However, there is a way to solve the youth unemployment problem. Recognizing the seriousness of the youth unemployment problem, the government jointly announced the youth unemployment measure with related ministries and various youth unemployment mitigation policies have been proposed in academic, business, and labor. These policy proposals can be divided into three main categories: direct job, certain plans, education, reorganization, vocational training, and supporting and labor market infrastructure construction. And by prior, they can be divided into short-term and mid to long-term tax. As a short-term measure of the government, first is proposed expansion of social job in the public sector, provision of temporary job overseas, interns and training, and expansion of dispatch of Korean peace volunteers to create jobs. Second, a volunteer training measure including expanding customized training specialized for each target and industry developing training program to meet the top 10 growth industry and development qualification item for the service industry. Third, measures such as operating a job guidance program to search for job and job as a job placement measure as establishing a youth employment support office in the employment security center are being prepared. First, mid to long-term measures are focusing on expanding growth potential by selecting and fostering 10 next generation growth engine industry, create a foundation for logistic and financial housed in North Asia, introducing a special region of development zone system and improving employment conditions for SMEs. Second, the regionally university education to meet industrial demand and strengthen links with corporate activities. We plan to gradually narrow the gap between school education and the labor market by developing on-demand curriculum, implementing an on-demand employment rate announcement system. Third, as a policy to build youth employment infrastructure and strength job guidance, the development and distribute of job guidance program mid to long-term manpower supply and demand for each detailed job and the establishment of a system to integrate and standardize labor market related information. To implement these policies, the government will set aside 540 billion won this year to provide job training and training opportunity to 130,000 young people and provide supporting 36,000 people and supporting programming for less than a month during the employment training for unemployment people. Through the government's comprehensive youth employment measure, 300,000 to 400,000 new jobs are expected to be created every year in the future, and the youth unemployment rate will stabilize to around 5%. In addition, politicians also announced the Youth New Deal policy and proceeds the enactment of the Special Act on the Resolution of Youth Unemployment and specifically establish the 5 years plan for the resolution of youth unemployment as detailed measure, both ruling and optioning parties are actively responding to the consortium of youth unemployment by investing 1.8 trillion won over the next 5 years, including higher 5% new government invested in this situation, improving the youth employment training system under the supervision of university and companies. Currently, the most important thing to develop and move forward in Korea's society is to solve the youth unemployment problem. To foster young people in Korea, employment expansion overseas, internships and training are considered very desirable. In addition, it is very important to discrimination against promotion according to educational background or abolish the upper limit on the employment age. If the above solution is implemented, the youth unemployment problem in Korea will be reduced and young people will no longer be afraid of marriage and child care problem. Therefore, Korea society will be able to move toward the future. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope guys understands my presentation well. Thank you.